So I'm already in the green, 46,000, but guess what? And I made over 50K on this deal. This was good, real estate family. It's your boy Mike the Negotiator. Man, we got to learn how to start breaking these deals down so we can make offers like that. We don't have time to play around. We got to get those offers in. If you don't know, you're new to my page, I talk about wholesale and real estate business, real estate news, everything you need to know, because real estate, wealth starts with real estate. It starts right there. So that's what I'm gonna talk about. That's what we're getting into. So you're trying to get your first deal right now. Maybe you already had a deal. Maybe you have some in the pipeline, but maybe you have a deal and you don't even know it yet because you don't know how to break down a max allowable offer. When I say max allowable offer, stay with me now. That's how much the max you can offer a seller so that you're able to make your wholesale fee. The investor is able to rehab the property, sell it on the market, and make a profit for themselves as well. So there's a method to the madness. You don't just get an investment property and it's like half the value makes it a wholesale deal. It's different in different markets. So first things first is you do have to know kind of like how your market operates. Maybe talk to a few buyers that are in the area already, some people that already flipped. I'll tell my buyer, hey, what are you calculating your LTV at? Which is what we call a loan to value. That's going to be the first step when we're calculating this offer right here. And I'm using a live offer right here. This is an actual property that I closed, and I made over 50K on this deal. This was a deal I found driving for dollars. I was driving in the neighborhood out here in Lilburn, Georgia, and it came across a property where the windows were boarded up, and stopped, got the address, and something about that property just stuck out to me. It was such a nice neighborhood. Why is there this nice brick house boarded up? Come to find out, a lightning had struck a tree in the backyard, which hit the electrical pole, which caused a fire inside the home, and it was some extensive damage. But nonetheless, I was able to get a hold of the homeowner almost immediately. Like the first number I skipped, trace, and dialed, I found the owner. They were like, yep, we actually were just looking for a realtor to sell the property to sell the property. And so I was like, well, look no further. Superman's here. No, I told them, look, I'm a cash buyer. I just was looking in the area as we speak for a new property to purchase and renovate. Like, okay. I said, well, we need to set up an appointment. So set up an appointment with the day one, made contact. Day two, set up an appointment. Day three is when I did the actual appointment and walkthrough. And come to find out, luckily, the roof was still intact. She had a basement, which was still basically did not get touched by the fire. And mainly it was the kitchen and the garage that took the hit from the fire. But she was an elderly lady. It was a scary situation for her. So she was already ready to just, hey, I'm ready to sell. I'll move with my daughter. I just want to be done with this whole thing. Cool. So as a wholesaler, keep in mind, you are a problem solver. You're a problem solver. So, but you have to solve somebody's problem. You got to have some type of heart in there. You got to, you know what I mean? We are helping people with real life situations. This lady lived in this house for about 30 years, I think it was. Her daughter, who was with her, who is an adult now, grew up in that house. Her husband passed away in that house. She had luckily just got the smoke alarms and fire system just changed out just 6 months prior to that. So God was watching out for her. But nonetheless, this is a real attachment to a house. This lady, when I went down into her basement, she had her tax files from like 20 years ago. She had pictures, news clipping articles. This is all the life she knows, and it burned up in almost a matter of minutes. She was finally mentally prepared to sell the house. Insurance cut her a check. So now she's basically selling the land value and whatever she could find value in the house and the price she wants. So I asked for her price, about a 200,000 for the price. They weren't sure. I said, okay, maybe I can come close. So I do my walkthrough, my appointment, and I came back with an offer of 174,000. and they accepted. So beautiful. Got them on contract, send the title work, title's clean. Now the fun part, I get to place my numbers and find the buyer, right? How did I come to $174,000? Let me explain, okay? So that's the actual address of the property right there. And what I have found for the ARV, the first thing you need to find is the ARV, the after repair value, okay? So once you find the ARV, once you find the after repair value meaning if a rehabber came and renovated a whole house and made it into 2024 standards, 2024 standards, the nice finishes, the granite, the new appliances, cabinets, doors, the whole nine, it's just made up to one of the top nice houses in the neighborhood. How much could the house sell for? So what are the top 3 houses within a half mile of that house? What are they selling for? What have they sold for in the last 3 months? Write that down. Keep it in your mind. Half mile radius, sold in the last 3 months, and cannot cross any major cross streets. So you can't count the house if Broadway's right here and the house is on this side of the street. You can't count the house across the street of Broadway that sold for $600,000. That's a different neighborhood. People who buy houses do not count that as a comp. So make sure it's in the neighborhood. It's within a half mile radius, sold in the last 3 months. You want to pick the top 3 that have sold. If 3 haven't sold in the last 3 months, pick the 1 or 2 that did sell in the last 3 months. If you got to expand out a little bit past half a mile, do so. But those are typically the rules when you calculate the ARV. So houses were selling in the 400K range. And actually they were selling a little bit lower than that. And that's because they didn't even have a basement or the same square footage as the house that I found. So I had one of the biggest properties that were there. It was brick. So builders love brick because you have a strong foundation. Now it's just knocking down the walls and doing the cosmetic stuff. So I had a lot of things going my way, which I didn't even really realize until after I got the contract. So we calculated ARV. Houses were selling in the 400K range. I upped it to 415 because I did price per square foot, and it came out to 415,000 would be the ARV for this property. And that was actually conservative. I felt like it really would go for 425, 430 maybe. That's the number I went to because I always like to leave a little bit of space in case the market changes, investors aren't really on the same page as you. So I came to ARV is 415,000. Next, we need to do that, what I mentioned earlier, called loan to value. I'm gonna do 415,000, which is our ARV, right? And we're gonna do it times 0.7 or 70%. 70 or 75% is usually the typical percentage that you will multiply against, because that is what most investors need, that cushion to make sure they can do a full rehab. And then you still have to take off what's next is the renovation cost, how much it will cost to rehab. So first things first, like I said, take your ARV, multiply it times 0.7, okay? We got $290,500. So that's how much we're seeing that the property is worth with the loan to value. Now we're gonna subtract the actual rehab cost, which I thought it would cost. Keep in mind, like I said, the roof was still intact. The bones were still strong. It's a brick property. It has a basement that was untouched. So to most people who are green or don't know their rehab, any new wholesaler, a lot of people I know, they didn't know how to calculate a fire damaged property. I was able to conservatively and correctly nail my rehab costs. And I came in at about 60K, okay? Because all they had to do really was redo the kitchen. They have to do fire restoration, which it costs a pretty penny for that. But basically just some remodeling and renovations that contractors in Atlanta, Georgia knock out like it's nothing out here. So I came to 60K. So we did ARV times 0.7. Now we're subtracting our rehab costs. That was 60K. So that brought me to $230,500. That brought our rehab cost to $230,500. And I'm also going to take out a 10K fee, and I need to get paid for my services rendered. Got it? Okay. All right, so boom. Now we at the magical number, the max allowable offer. I took out the rehab costs. We took out the fee that I'm going to make, 10K fee, so I can max allowable offer these people $220,000. That's the most I want to offer them, or that I can make a play on to make this a wholesale deal. What was the number I said earlier that they said? Because write this down too. Rule number 1 in negotiating: the one who says the number first loses. The one who says the number first loses. So they said 200K, that was their price. They didn't know too much of what was going on. I did know that there was fire damage, that's extensive damage. They got their check cut from the insurance company. So she probably almost got just about market price for her property. I think there's like some percentage they take off for the insurance. So she's already probably in 300K from her house. I think she had to pay off like 80,000, 80-something thousand. So whatever she get from me, that's cream on the top for her. So to give this woman $174,000, which I told you was actually my contract price, she just got icing on the cake. She was extremely happy when I gave her the offer, and she was okay with it. The daughter was there to help her confirm that she liked it. The daughter is married and had a husband, and he's a teacher at like Kennesaw or somewhere. So they all had a group discussion. It's the mother's decision at the end. She was happy. We shook hands, signed on the contract, went to the closing table. So, with that being said, this is the fun part for me. I said 220 was the max, right? Now we're gonna go to what I got accepted as an offer price, right? These, boom. What's that? 40. Oh, 46,000. $46,000. If I can sell this price at 220,000. Mike, why are we going back to 220,000? Because now I got it at 174. That was what I offered. That's what she accepted. Now at 220, I can tell that to my investor, 220,000 just off basic calculation. I could tell him 220 to my buyer. So I'm already in the green, 46,000. But guess what? This particular area has been on fire, like hot fire, like anything that goes up over there sells. I got demand right now. I got demand on my side, so I don't have to go for 220. I put another 10K on top of that. So at the end of the day, I told investors I'm selling this property for 230,000. 230K. That was my asking price. The numbers work out to 220. So if they offer already the 220, I'm okay with that. If they offer 210, I'm okay with that. If they offer 200, if they offer 185, I'm in the green. I'm gravy. So now I get to use my real knowledge so I don't leave money on the table. I check these ARVs and comps so hard. I made it so an investor, when I present it to them in my email packet, my marketing packet, I'm gonna say, this is the numbers. I'm gonna show it to them just like this. If they ever come back to me, well, Mike, I gotta give you this amount. I say, well, I'm already at 220 that you can give me, and you'll still be good, and you'll still have room because I underestimated the 415K for that area. They have nothing to do but agree with me, and they know what I'm talking about. So Atlanta's it's a high traffic investor state. So there's real sharks here. There's big corporations. There's people just with deep pockets by themselves. So I knew I had to be on top of my numbers. So yes, I did have investors a couple days after I sent out my email blast. I wanted to do the walkthrough. So they did the walkthrough, and I sent 3 of them there at one time within a 1 hour span. They did the walkthrough. The second guy that was supposed to show up there, he was doing the walkthrough, and he called me while he's in the house because I could hear him. He's like, "Hey, Mike, I see you got some other people here, but let's just say, look, we got the earnest money now. We'll get the contract signed. Just send it to us. We'll have it signed within an hour or two. Earnest money will be in by the AM. We'll take it at 2:30." And that's literally how it went. So I had other investors come. Someone did say 220. Another guy said like 207. It doesn't get more beautiful than that. They did wire I sent them the contract. At first, I got their name. Let's make this clear. This is important too. So the buyer did call me from inside the property, and he was like, "Mike, hey, we'll take this." I was like, "Okay, cool," but I didn't know him like that. I said, "I just need your name, your business info. Shoot it over my way. Let me take a look and check out your company. And if everything's good, I'm gonna send you the contract in an hour." And so he sent me his information. Google, Facebook. It's just like if you go into a restaurant or there's something that you're interested in, you need to get some background on it. You go to Google and you find out about it instead of just walking into something blindly. This is a 6-figure deal right here. You don't just sign a paper off away to anybody. Keep that in mind. Because you get excited. You might get excited like, "Oh shit, I'm gonna make $50,000. Oh my God." Just here. You got the money? Sign here. You don't want to do that. You want to keep your poker face up, and nothing's set in stone until that ink dries on the paper. Nothing is set. That's what one thing I have learned is if the ink's not dry on that paper, that all the signatures at the closing table are done, that deal is not done with yet. So I didn't want to get too excited with this buyer. I got his information. I Googled them. They're a legit company. They have properties that they bought and flipped in Atlanta already and recent. You guys have a deal. I'm gonna shoot you the paperwork. They signed it and they sent the EMD the exact time they said they were the next morning. It was just one guy, and he had an LLC and people that get deals for him, and he just had deep pockets, and he wanted that deal in Lilburn. He got it. They flipped it, right? They gave me my 230K, so I walked away with a boom, 50K plus deal, one of the best I ever did. But besides that, this is what I wanted to point out, that actually the numbers did almost exactly as I said to them, almost exactly. They ended up selling for 400K. They flipped it and they sold the property for 400K. My ARV, I said, was 415. They really could have pushed. They could have pushed to 415, 425. I think because they got in, it was fire damage. They flipped it in like 4 or 5, I think it was 5 or 6 months. They flipped the whole, everything was burned down. I'm gonna pop some pictures up right here. Burned inside and out, just everywhere. Took them in like 6 months, so that's a quick flip for them to make X amount of dollars on their deal. Because it looks like they had their construction, the way they knocked it out, they probably had the money down on their construction costs. And they probably fixed it up for probably 50K, 60K, sold it for 400. So they make the difference. They make their money, I made my money, everybody's happy. On top of that, I think the person who did the walkthrough, he got 13K himself. Do you hear how much money is involved in wholesale and real estate? He got 13K himself, the guy who just brought the deal to the guy he works for, the buyer. He got that off. I made over 50K. So that's just me and Buddy, the money we're making for our household. Then you got the flipper who's gonna hire contractors. Contractors have subcontractors and so on and so forth. So you're building a whole new house. A real estate transaction has transacted through your hands, 6 figures. Everyone makes a lot of money. There's lots of components involved. And that's why wholesale and real estate, you got to take it serious. You got to take it and do it just like a pro, because look how much money is exchanged, what's really involved here. It's not just, oh, I'm going to flip a house or I'm going to sell a contract. Livelihoods are at stake. You're dealing with people's emotions. You're dealing with people's money. So you got to know what you're doing. So when I can present this to anybody and I know my numbers, it just makes wholesaling that much better, that much sweeter. It makes it a real business. And the way people are mishandling wholesaling right now, business needs to be back in order, or the states and the cities and the counties are going to start coming down on wholesaling and say, no more wholesaling. Or you're going to have to pay a fee, or you need to become a realtor, or you need to have a license and go through training. We just got to do it pro, keep it on the low, good level with our investors, not get sued. Don't sue people that don't deserve to be sued. Don't tie up contracts. Know your numbers. Create the service. That's the numbers. You know your numbers, and the way you talk to your investors, they're going to remember you. The person you close the deal with, the seller, they're getting their money in a shorter time than they thought, all cash. They're definitely going to love you. So now you know how to get your formula real quick and ASAP. But I put a lot into this video here. Knock your numbers out, know your market, make the offer, get the contract closed. It's a beautiful thing. Make sure y'all subscribe and lock in.